Hello, everybody. It's Josh. The following is a clip from a recent live stream edition of my wrestling podcast, In Ring Reality, that I've chosen to repurpose and share with you all here because the subject also went into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I hope you enjoy. And if you did and you are a wrestling fan, please consider subscribing to the In Ring Reality YouTube channel or following us on Facebook at facebook.com/inringreality or subscribing to the show on your preferred podcast listening platforms if you'd like to hear more from the show. I do have future plans for this channel, so stay tuned as I will be back on here as well. Thank you as always for your support. Now on with the show. The bell has rung. Welcome to another edition of In Ring Reality. This is our What is the Future of Becky Lynch special. I, of course, am your host, Josh Radowskis, and today I am beyond thrilled, to be joined by a longtime friend of mine who I've wanted to collab with forever, who is also a movie buff, which is perfect for today's topic. This is Chris Cummings. Chris, how are you, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm very good. What time is it over there in the UK?
It's 5 p.m., but
wow.
it's still sunny.
Okay. Well, for us, it just hit lunchtime, so we'll probably have some lunch and dinner viewing going on here today simultaneously, which will be a lot of fun. So obviously you're brand new to my audience because we haven't had a chance to collab before. We've known each other for years, but we've never actually been on camera together. So explain who you are and how we met and what you do now for the audience that doesn't know.
Yeah, so we met when I did a channel on YouTube talking about movies mostly and collecting media and things like that. I think that's where we met, and then from there I've gone on to do vlogs on YouTube and things. I haven't done much on YouTube for a while, but I do a lot of writing now. And yeah, I'm a wrestling fan, a big wrestling fan for a long time, which is another thing that we have been able to talk about as friends. So
yeah, that's why, as I said, you were the perfect fit, because the original point of us doing this today was my favorite wrestler is rumored to do a Marvel film. And I thought, I need somebody to do this video with that understands both of those worlds. So naturally, my first thought was you. And I thought this would be great. And since we have the ability to connect this way, we don't have to do any work. We just have to figure out each other's schedules. But then, of course, on Raw, everything changed because Becky is pregnant and we won't be seeing her for quite a long time. And those words are very, very hard for me to say out of my mouth. So, needless to say, the last 48 hours, anybody that knows me, I'm a car-carrying Deadly. I was a Deadly before Deadly's even had a name. I've been a Deadly since her debut in NXT. So, for me, for people that aren't wrestling fans, I guess they really don't understand the connection that people have with their favorite wrestlers and what they mean to them. And for me, with cerebral palsy, there's so many physical challenges and mental challenges. So it's not an exaggeration to say that on many a day, I felt like Becky had saved me, kept me going, kept me strong.
Yeah.
And so to face the reality, and Gene, I see you. Hello. We'll get to your comments and everyone's comments when we're done with the main crux of the podcast. But for me to now face a world where I'm not going to get to see her every week is really shocking from an emotional standpoint, but also obviously very joyous, because this is the best possible reason for anyone to be away from the ring, giving birth to a child. And there's nobody that I know in my life that I've been exposed to that it's more right to be a mom, I think, as a person, than Becky Lynch.
Yeah, no, you're right. The news is just if there was ever a reason for somebody to step away from something that they love doing, it's that's the reason, isn't it? It's like it's a huge reason. So
Yeah. So I guess the first thing is just to talk about before we can get into what she may do. What was your, because obviously there were rumors going around, but as we talked about off the air as we were preparing these social media links to go out to everyone, there are rumors about these kind of earth shattering things all the time. You never know what's right and what isn't. So when you actually saw Becky make that announcement to Oscar, like what was your reaction? I'll defer to my guests before I go into my own.
yeah, I mean, before the announcement was made, I assumed maybe it was to do with the movie filming or something along those lines. I wasn't sure really what the announcement was going to be, but when she made the announcement, it was. I just thought the actual segment felt very real, which we don't see that sort of level of reality in wrestling. So I thought that was really a moving thing to see. I loved seeing Asuka's reaction because I'm a fan of hers as well. I think she's fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, she is.
Yeah, but yeah, it just felt really. It was difficult. It was difficult to watch because you could see how much Becky is going to. She's giving up something that she obviously has an amazing passion for to do something else that she's going to be passionate about. But it must be unbelievably difficult to leave something while you are at the top of the company.
Absolutely. Well, I've said it ad nauseum, but it bears repeating. To me, Becky Lynch transcended our business that we love. I mean, she is the first superstar to be seen as that. She's on the same level as men. So when you think about wrestling history, you're going to think about Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, Ric Flair. Becky Lynch is going to be up there in terms of what she was able to do. And I think that her transitioning into this world makes a lot of sense because for people that may not know, because, obviously not everybody is a number one fan of hers like we are, she actually trained to be an actress. Like as she was coming into wrestling, she took acting lessons. So this is something that she may have been preparing for from a career transition standpoint for quite a lot of time. And then, of course, she was just in Billions on Showtime with creator Brian Koppelman, which, by the way, a little fun Easter egg for those of you who caught the episode of The Bump recently, where Brian Koppelman was on there with Becky announcing the appearance. This mic, the AT2005 that I'm currently using by Audio Technica, is the exact same mic that Brian Koppelman uses for his show. Okay. So I thought that was pretty darn cool. Pretty darn cool that, my favorite wrestler is being interviewed by the creator of Showtime's Billions, and he's using the exact same mic as me. Thought that was pretty darn cool.
That is cool.
So, yeah, for her, I think that this has been something, and thank you for saying that, by the way, but for her, this has been something that may have been planned for a lot longer than we know, which is why when these Marvel rumors started happening, I was like, well, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? I mean, who else would they want besides Becky? And I knew that, eventually she was going to drop the title. No one can hold the title forever. So I thought, why not do something in an industry where you can still make an impact in it and still do wrestling? I mean, we've seen it from people like John Cena. You don't have to leave the ring entirely if you decide to act.
Yeah.
And especially at her age, because she's only 33. So now it just, instead of it being like a fun thing, for me, it's difficult because it almost feels like this may be a permanent thing for her because of the child. Like everyone's priority has to change, obviously, doesn't it, when you have a child? And your only thought in life your every action is driven toward them and their well-being. And when I think about that, and I think about being a mother, I just think that acting is such a less demanding career path than pro wrestling. And I just think it would allow her to be much more at peace with who she is. She would still be connected with her fans, still making an impact on the world, still have a wonderful career, but she would be in far less danger for her child. And then, of course, there's, the situation we're in. We're in a global pandemic right now. So she really has to worry about being there for her child and being safe, which I think is probably why. I mean, obviously, you can't wrestle when you're pregnant, but she could have still been a TV presence. But I think that's probably the biggest reason that she's not even going to be a TV presence. Like, as soon as she knew, pretty much, because she knew latter part of April, right after WrestleMania. So I think as soon as she knew, she made the decision, like, I can't be here because of the situation that we are in the world. So it leaves way more questions than answers. And I guess for me, the only comfort that I have, and I want to get your thoughts on this, obviously, that's why you're here. But for me, the only comfort that I have is she knows what's best for her. So whatever she does next, I just have to adjust to the way that I support her and support her family. So if you're in her shoes, what would you do? Like,
wow, yeah. I mean, like you said, it doesn't mean necessarily like with John Cena. He's transcended into film, but he still makes appearances. I could see Becky maybe after a year or two, maybe making it a part-time sort of situation where she wrestles a limited schedule and still is able to make movies and stuff. Maybe that's where it'll go. I'm not sure. But I think, like you said, she definitely needs to think about the child and herself and being healthy at the moment. The same with Seth, which we spoke about earlier on.
Yeah, we'll get to that now. Everything changes for him because it's one thing to be riding a hot wave with this character, but now your wife is pregnant. And I call her his wife because he calls her his wife. I mean, they were supposed to already be married now but they were supposed to already be married now. Sorry. But because of everything that's going on, they obviously are not because they want their family there with them. But, they are very much intertwined. And now Seth is a father. So, in normal circumstances, plenty of people can be on the road and be a father. Like they knew this business, they know this business like the back of their hand. So I'm sure they were comfortable being parents and still being active wrestlers.
Yeah.
But now, until this situation is over, Seth probably needs to be at home and making sure his wife and child have their father. And, because the longer he wrestles, the more he's at risk. Even though the performance center is as safe an environment as anyone can be in, you never know because people are carriers of the pandemic without even knowing that they are. So you don't know what you're exposed to. So to me, that changes everything for him. But as we said with Becky, knowing what's best for her, he knows what's best for him. I mean, they've had countless conversations, obviously, already about all this. So I'm sure that whatever the plan is, it'll be fine. But for you, are you seeing this like as a sooner or later thing for him? Like how much longer do you see him going?
Oh, I would hope it isn't long. I would hope, because I know with pregnancy it can affect your immune system and things of that nature. And I think that's something that's personal to them that I would imagine they'd be speaking about all the time. But then with Seth being a pro wrestler and knowing how wrestlers are historically about the loyalty to the company and things like that, it's kind of worrying. I'm a bit worried for him, but I hope it's sooner for the sake of Becky and the child, really. But I don't know. What do you think?
For me, it's just as I process all this. I mean, I literally said to you off the air, like, thank you for the therapy session today, because that's what it is for me with how much she means to me and him by extension. This is a live therapy session with a friend. But, for me, as I process all of this, I just think about my only focus is them and their safety. So I hope that he puts that before anything else. I mean, his career is not over. I mean, it's not over. But he has to look at the world and think, I have to make sure that my child has a father that isn't ill right now.
Yeah.
And then once we get past all that, then I can decide, okay, what's my wife comfortable with? What am I comfortable with? What's the company comfortable with? But he has to be laser focused right now on the immediate. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So let's have some fun and try to put a positive spin on this, because as we mentioned, the original reason that we got together was the awesome rumors that Becky had been cast in the MCU. So when I think about that, I think, wow, like I said earlier, there's nobody more perfect for that than Becky. I think she just screams comic book character. So I asked you as we were setting this up, and I always try to defer to my guests as much as possible before I give my own opinions. I asked you to come up with a list of a few roles that you would like to see her play if these rumors are true. So why don't you go ahead and share that with us?
Okay, now there's a few that I go back and forth on, but one of them stands out to me for some reason more than others, and it isn't even a role that we've ever seen in the MCU or even in a Marvel movie. And it's Elsa Bloodstone. Was in the Marvel comics. She was in some Avengers books, and she was in A-Force and the Marvel Monsters. And she's sort of a red-haired, fiery-headed vampire hunter character who I saw a picture of her when I was flicking around to try and think who I'd cast Becky as. And it just really stood out to me. Like, if they were to do another Avengers film and they wanted a new, fresh, interesting character, this character really stood out as something. She's got that sort of edge that Becky does so well in wrestling that they could really use in the movies. So that one to me stands out a lot. I don't know if that is a character people are even that aware of, but
I was not. When you mentioned that character, my brain went, okay, who is that?
Yeah.
But I love the idea of it. And, as you were describing the character, they're doing Blade. They're bringing Blade in the MCU. So that world of vampires is not going to be, a foreign world by that time. So that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And she definitely needs to bring that over the top man persona, at least at first, into whoever she plays, I would think. So that role actually does make a lot of sense. Any others?
Well, I was thinking as well about people from the X-Men, because I think she'd fit really well in the X-Men. But I was struggling to pick a specific character. I know you actually off camera mentioned the character I was thinking of.
Yes.
So I won't go into that one because I think, yeah, I don't want us to both say the same one.
Yeah,
well, no, unless you want to say.
We can definitely do that. I mean, the whole point of going live is to not really prepare and have the show be off the cuff as we can. So we're gonna have different opinions, even if we mention the same character. So you can go ahead.
Okay. Well, it was Jean Grey, who I don't know if I think she's around the same age as Becky in my head. And I've been really wanting them to bring the X-Men into the MCU. But I didn't want them to cast any of the same actors who have played the X-Men before. I just think Becky would be perfect in that role.
And when you look at the history, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's
but
good.
when you look at the history of what Kevin Feige has done, how he always does his own thing and tries not to be reliant on things that have been done in the past. If there are going to be X-Men in the MCU, which, let's be real, they're going to be X-Men in the MCU. But when that time comes, it's going to be a completely different continuity and cast.
Yeah.
So Jean Grey is too big of a character to not be seen. So I can definitely see them doing that. The only issue that I have with Jean Grey, like Jean Grey was actually number 3 on my list of names that I was going to mention, simply because the biggest issue with Jean Grey is that we have had so many incarnations of Jean in recent years. And Jean's number 1 story is Dark Phoenix. So every time you see Jean Grey on screen, you're like, when are they going to do Dark Phoenix? When are they going to do Dark Phoenix? And every time we've gotten Dark Phoenix on the big screen, it hasn't gone well.
No.
So I could see them maybe looking at that and like, we need at least 6-7 years before we can look at that again. And so that makes me wonder, are they going to try and find a way to either not bring Jean in right away or prolong the character in the comics before she becomes Dark Phoenix? Like, we could see more of her developing her powers, more of her being a teacher, a lot like they did in the original X-Men, the animated series.
Yeah.
If they were to cast Jean. But yeah, Jean definitely stands out for sure as a choice. So I don't disagree with you there, but I think just because of the troublesome nature of the character, maybe that's not who they're looking at. But I mean, we don't know. That's why we're here having fun speculating.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean about them not. I don't think they're going to go and do another solo film for that character for a long while. So yeah, I understand what you mean.
Yeah, because they did it in X-Men Days of Future Past, and then they tried to do it again with the Dark Phoenix. No, sorry, not Days of Future Past. What was the one? X-Men 3, of course, the worst X-Men of all time. They did in an X-Men 3, and then they did it with Dark Phoenix, the solo film, and neither one were done well.
No.
The only incarnation of Dark Phoenix that's ever been done well on screen is X-Men the Animated Series.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So it's a little bit problematic from that standpoint. So before I get on to my picks and see how you would feel about them, are there any others? Because I thought a lot about this. I have 3 that I think. Well, I mentioned the one, so I'm down to 2 now. But
no, I kind of got down to those 2, and then with the Vampire Hunter character, I was very fixed on that. Then I spent a long time because I wasn't overly familiar with the character anyway. So I spent a lot of time then reading about it and trying to get into my head whether it'd work. So for me,
you could go ahead and expand more on it. I mean, sell it to the people.
Well, yeah. I'm trying to think more about the character. I mean, I've read some of the Marvel Monsters series where the character appeared. But if they were to bring Blade into the MCU, I think it'd work really well. I don't believe Blade and the Elsa character actually appear together, but they don't have to. If it's the Avengers, they can appear together just in the Avengers. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if I'd be able to sell it. It's a very unknown character, I think, generally. Even I wasn't overly familiar. But I do think bringing a vampire hunter into the Marvel universe is appealing to me anyway. I think that sounds cool.
It's very appealing, very appealing. And the thing is, it doesn't necessarily, like we say MCU as we know it, because that is the MCU, but it doesn't, with Blade, it doesn't necessarily have to be the MCU. It could just be, Blade standing on his own. So
Yeah,
they're even more open to however they want to use those characters.
yeah, yeah.
So so that's a really interesting choice. Okay, so here are my two. And this first one is one that maybe not a lot of people are familiar with, but when I say who she's the daughter of, it probably will click for you. But Banshee has a daughter, and her daughter's name is Siren. And if you've ever seen a picture of Siren, you would know that that looks absolutely like a certain last kicker. Like it's just like she was drawn on to the comic book page with Siren. So
Uh-huh.
I think that with Banshee and her powers, and then subsequently Siren with those same powers fighting against Banshee, it'd just be a cool dynamic that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I like that. That's interesting.
And then my number one choice actually was because I can't really expand too much on Siren for because it's a very comic centric character. So I could spend 30 minutes explaining how Siren works, but it's just kind of one of those things you have to see on the big screen in order for it to make sense. But this first choice, and actually I just as I'm going, I thought of like a real dark horse choice. I can get into that as well. But the first choice that I came up with was actually not a movie role, but something that could still be in the MCU because it's something that we actually know is coming. We just don't know when or how because of everything going on right now. But it was announced a couple of Comic Cons ago, and that is they are bringing She-Hulk to Disney Plus. And when you think of She-Hulk, and there's two elements to that character. There's the everyday lawyer who doesn't take off, and then of course there is the when she hulks up, She-Hulk character, which obviously requires a lot of physicality and a lot of brutality. And I could the more I thought about this, I thought about Becky in a courtroom, you know, going off, standing up for what's right, and like, you won't like me when I'm angry. I mean, She-Hulk doesn't use that line, but that, of course, is the line that everybody is familiar with when they think of the Hulk. Like, her doing it, you won't like me when I'm angry, and having that green, and that green flashes really well with the red hair, which again, She-Hulk has a lot of red hair. She's been written, drawn with a lot of red hair in the past. So yeah, I feel like if they're gonna do She-Hulk, I mean, people were talking about Rhonda. Well, who needs Rhonda for She-Hulk when you've got Becky there that can play her? So I feel like that if I'm Kevin Feige and I need a She-Hulk, Becky Lynch is the first name I think of.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that idea. I love that idea. I'd love to see her as She-Hulk. Yeah,
Well, I'm glad that I'm not the only one who thinks that. Um, and the interaction between her and Mark Ruffalo, if they go in that direction, would be a lot of fun as well.
yeah, it would. I'd like that because I would imagine eventually with the series characters, we would perhaps see those in films in the future. I imagine
Yeah,
that's where they're going to go.
yeah, they did say that the Marvel series are going to be in continuity with the films.
Yeah,
And they did say there's going to be elements of the series that tie directly into future films. So I definitely think it is a possibility.
yeah. Ooh, I like it.
So the other name that as I like literally as I was talking about She-Hulk, I was like, ooh. And that's another one that would work more for a TV side of things, I think, unless they decide to do like more of like a Deadpool type of film where it would stand completely on its own. Because it's not exactly family friendly, but it's funny as heck. And Becky's sense of humor is like off the charts. So Squirrel Girl. As soon as I thought of Squirrel Girl, or Squirrel Girl. That's a hard word to say, squirrel. But as soon as I thought of that character, I was like, ooh, that is cool because she has that, sarcastic nature about her to begin with. And then, you know, she would be sassy and just be everything that off the wall character is and just have a blast with it. Like I would think she would just have a blast with it.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love the Squirrel Girl comics. I'm a big fan of those comics. I think she'd be a good pick for someone to bring humor into it. I think Becky would work really well because I think she's got a real comical side that would work.
Yeah, she absolutely. I mean, her sense of humor is off the charts. Like, no, you're not gonna call security a stupid dope. Like, the way that she cuts those promos, like it's just tailor made for somebody like Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl. God, I
Yeah,
don't know why that's so difficult for me to say today. I've said it hundreds of times when I'm not live. But yeah, I the more I think about that, I'm like, maybe it's that instead of She-Hulk. Because I could
yeah,
just see Becky looking at it like, what can I show my whole personality with? And that people have wanted that character for years. And the thing that might be the real knowledgeable people that are going to see this, because this is also being repurposed. I forgot to mention it, but this will be the only episode of Enemy Reality ever to also be repurposed on my main film and TV channel because of this part of the discussion. So for the real, people in the know, they might be thinking, well, Josh, Chris, Squirrel Girl doesn't have red hair. Like Becky can't play her. But see, that's my friends. That is where you're incorrect because a lot of people don't remember, but Becky didn't always have the fiery red orange hair. Her natural color is a brunette, which that's the way Squirrel Girl is written in the comics.
yeah,
So it could work from that standpoint as well. So I really like that idea. Like the more I talk about it, the more I'm talking myself into it. Like she would be awesome in that role. Absolutely awesome.
yeah. I'd like to see that.
So, what besides the MCU, which of course was the rumor, if you're Becky and you're looking at an acting career, do you look at it more of a standpoint of trying to stay what you're good at, or do you immediately go for roles that would expand yourself as a personality? Like, how do you see her being a female version of The Rock at first, or do you see her being, no, I'm going to play, a dramatic character that has nothing to do with physicality just to prove I can do it? Like, how do you think she might be thinking about this move?
Yeah, I could see her doing a lot of big blockbuster roles to begin with, like The Rock. But I would like to see her do what no one else has really done. This when they've come from wrestling, most people have gone into action or sci-fi. I think Becky could really do something different. I'd like to see her do comedy. I'd like to see her do drama.
Which is again why Squirrel Girl, like as soon as I said that, I was like so different than anything we've ever seen
Yeah,
a wrestler do.
yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that. Did you have a chance to see the Marine Six Close Quarters? Like I know that the WWE studio films are not usually high up on people's priority list, but as soon as I found out she was going to be in a film, I was like, okay, well, I have to check this out. And she did a wonderful job as Maddie Hayes. And I think when you look at the Maddie Hayes character, you see a lot of elements of what eventually became the man on TV. So, she can definitely, show a different side of herself as well. So I think that she can work as a lead, she can work as a side. To me, it's just endless. But did you have a chance to see the Maddie Hayes role at all?
Yeah, I did see that. I thought she did really, really well. I enjoyed it.
And her and Shawn Michaels having a kayfabe fight. It's like, come on, that's like every wrestling fan's dream. There, for like when you think about if you're going to see an intergender match, you think of Becky Lynch and Shawn Michaels. Like,
it's the dream match.
yeah. And then, of course, I just saw something in the comments, and like I said, I will put the comments on screen at the end of the show and give them their proper time. But I saw something in the comments where Jean just reminded me that she actually, before she got the tryout in NXT, she actually kind of, for lack of a better way to put it, fibleted and worked as a stunt woman. And she was on the TV show Vikings. So she already has that experience being on an action TV show as well, which could very much lend her to whatever that future is.
Yeah, interesting. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, you can find that footage. It was very short because she was only on there for, I think maybe she had intended on making it a career, and then somebody said to her, you should go and try out. But because of her injury, she'd been away from the ring for so long, and her mother kind of talked her out of it. So she had to build herself back up psychologically to, can I still do this? But at the time, she was planning on making stunt work a career, but it didn't last very long before she made the decision to go do the NXT tryout. But yeah, you can find clips. I can't remember how many episodes there is, but there, if you look back at the at it was either WWE 24, which I think that's what it was. It was WWE 24 Becky Lynch, or it may have been when they were interviewing her about Billions and showing her acting history. But one of the two, you can clearly see footage of her in Vikings. So if you just Google, when you're done here, listeners and viewers, and Chris, if you just Google Becky Lynch Vikings, it'll come up.
Cool. I'll do that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. She just basically does the Xena Warrior Princess, or Themyscira Wonder Woman yell and just kicks butt, but it's a lot of fun.
Nice.
I would like to see her in DC as well. I think she would be great, Themyscira. Like, I could definitely see her as a Amazonian.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Maybe if they do something in that world, because there was talk from Stephanie. Why am I blanking on her name? The director of Wonder Woman. Help me out.
Oh, I've forgotten the name.
Oh, yeah, but there.
I know who you mean, but
yes. Well, there was talk from her of doing a film that would be more of a prequel, where they would show that world of Themyscira more than just focusing on Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So I just think about that, and I'm like, wow, that could really be interesting. Like, she could definitely be like, get out of my way, Diana. Like, you don't belong here anymore. You don't even. She could pull a Bianca Belair. You don't even go here. Like, I can almost see that now. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see her landing a role like that and doing a long-term series. That'd be nice. I'd like to see her being able to explore a character for longer than just a movie. I'd like that. That'd be cool.
The more I think about it, the more I think about her on TV, and the people at Billions love her, as we said. So I could see maybe them, figuring out a way, even though she's already been kayfabe on the show with Becky Lynch. Like, maybe they could figure out a way of making her Becky Peterson, or somebody else, and create a character for her. I think that would be a lot of fun, because she's very believable as a lawyer, which, again, why I said She-Hulk. She just fits right into that corporate world, I think, a lot. Where can people find you online? Like, read some of your awesome articles, or if you decide to do videos, or are you open to people friending you on social media? Like, plug whatever you want to plug as we sign off here.
Yeah, so you can find me I'm on Twitter at writer C Cummings. You can follow me there. I post there quite regularly. Chris Santoria is the name of our YouTube channel. We don't have any content up there. It's privatized at the minute, but if we do come back to do live shows, then yeah, feel free to subscribe and watch stuff. We were doing a lot of videos at one point, so
they were doing a lot of videos. I think it was probably just the kids' wall that made you worried about not doing content, right?
Yeah, mostly that. So it'd be nice to come back. We've been considering it lately, so
yeah. It definitely has calmed down a lot, a whole lot. So, we have one more comment. People just don't want to let us go today. One more comment coming in. Black Adam says, "Great stream, guys. Enjoyed." Well, thank you very much for that, Black.
Thank you, man.
Interact with us next time. Always love hearing from people. So for me, you guys know the drill for the show. It's at In Ring Reality everywhere. Twitter, now live on Facebook, and of course the YouTube channel's been around for a while. And I did keep the reality name for In Ring Reality because, come on, that just sounds like a wrestling podcast. Yeah. It just sounds like a wrestling podcast, so couldn't get rid of it there. So follow the show everywhere. It's at Josh Rosowski. It's everywhere except for the Becky Lynch Instagram fan page. Of course, Deadly Becky Lynch is the GOAT. It's gonna be hard to keep that up going forward, but we're gonna try. Yeah. So as always, follow the show, subscribe to the show, hit me up everywhere if you have media ideas. Always appreciate it. And as I always like to say, life is only as good as what you choose to make it to be. So make the choice to go out and do something great today.